As the automotive industry and indeed consumers embrace electric vehicles, new shows are cropping up to show off their highlights. One such event is Fully Charged Live, one of the biggest motor shows in the UK. The show is so big it's actually expanding and will be taking in Europe and North America in 2022, with Australia coming in 2023. Here in Farnborough, consumers and businesses can get together to see just what the EV future is all about, find out more about vehicles and infrastructure, and learn about new technologies as the industry really moves forward into the future. Fully Charged Live is not just about the cars, but the entire electric vehicle experience. From mining to mapping, charging to car subscription, there are hundreds of companies on display showing what they can offer consumers and fleet buyers when it comes to electrification. I wanted to find out more, so as well as getting hands-on with some of the tech, I spoke to some of the companies in attendance to see just what they can bring to the market.
Okay, so National Grid's been involved with Fully Charged Live now for its 4th iteration. So actually we've been involved since the start in some very small way. The pledge rule actually is really important because National Grid's a climate change partner for COP26. And actually so much of this is about the little things that we can do. Green energy is really important to the clean transport transition. So what we've seen over the last 15 or 20 years is the energy system get cleaner and greener. So currently the UK has more power generated from clean sources than from burning stuff. But we've got a lot more to do. So more wind, more solar, more nuclear is coming as clean energy. But the nice thing about EVs is you can put the cleanest and cheapest energy in your car by smart charging, putting a timer on. That not only means that the cleanest, cheapest energy is going in your car, but it also helps soften the impact to the grid. We will, by probably the end of the decade, so by 2030, we will have an additional 30 gigawatts of offshore wind generating. We will probably have an additional nuclear power station generating, and that's before we talk about solar on people's roofs, other forms of generation and interconnection with other countries. So we've been thinking about this for a long time. The energy transition we're well into. So this is just really further seeing where it touches consumers. And so actually we're not overly worried about the transition. But as I mentioned before, the nice thing is there's an opportunity here for people to democratize energy. You can become a participant by smart charging your car, having solar on your roof to generate, and genuinely engaging with the energy proposition.
So Indra is a electric vehicle technology company. We look at battery storage, electric car chargers and vehicle to grid chargers. Clearly bi-directional is going to grow in the future. Right now we're seeing a lot of innovation trials. We're just seeing a kind of first few thousand units coming out of the industry. What we're launching here today is the first commercial proposition of that, where we're going to start selling that to real customers. So what we're seeing right now today with real world tariffs is £200 a month energy savings. Clearly tariffs are quite high at the moment, and that's maybe a little bit exaggerated, but that's getting a hardware payback under 3 years, which is very competitive. I think in the future we'll start to see grid services as the industry matures, and that will start to bring in additional revenues and ways of paying for this hardware. So right now a lot of the trials are focused on domestic. Clearly that's because it's an easier use case, there's less people involved, it's an easier sell. We're starting to see people looking at businesses and looking at things like bus depots and electric refuse collection and that's going quite well, but it's all very small scale innovation right now. I think in a few years we'll start to see it mainstream.
Now, one thing that has been creating quite a buzz is the Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is a modern take on the classic transporter and camper van. Created by Volkswagen initially as a concept to show what they could do with electrification, it captured the world by storm and it created imagination that meant Volkswagen had to release it as a production model. It was launched in March and will be coming to the market very soon.
Lithium's essential for both the UK and wider EV markets because it's essential for the lithium batteries that go into electric vehicles. So the lithium carries the charge around the battery, and it's one of the most energy dense elements in the periodic table. And so, yeah, it's integral to the very function of a battery. Producing your lithium in the UK obviously dramatically reduces the length of your supply chain, and also, the whole risk of the supply chain, depending on different countries, different sources, and so on. And then if you produce your lithium in the UK and have the refining in the UK and then also the battery right next to it, you're producing or providing a whole host of new jobs into particular regions, particularly in Cornwall, where there's no longer a mining industry, and bringing a whole host of people back into Cornwall, into reviving kind of mining, mineral exploration, and the ancillary industries around that, ground surveys, environmental permitting and all sorts. Lithium itself is actually quite an abundant element, but finding it in areas where it's concentrated enough to be economic is quite difficult. But at the moment, the way the lithium market is going, it's not that we'll run out of lithium, it's that we won't produce enough lithium in time. So it's really important for projects like ourselves to get online as quickly as possible and provide lithium into the supply.
So onto a car subscription service, we offer 1 month contracts, which is all inclusive. So it includes 750 miles of charging. So you can charge with InstaVolt, with BP and with Shell. It includes your insurance, it includes servicing, includes breakdown, and it includes your tax. One of the principal reasons why Onto was set up is to help people make that transition from traditional kind of ICE cars into the EV market. We want to make it hassle-free. We want to make it affordable and simple. And yeah, the beauty of the service is that it's a 1 month subscription. So they can try different cars. You could try a Volkswagen E 1 month, a Kona the next month. And it just makes it nice and easy for people to be able to understand what the product is like. And Onto have grown year over year by 550%. We're finding a very strong market for people kind of moving across to EV for the first time. We've been lucky that we've got very good relationships with a lot of the manufacturers. So we have still had the same challenge as everybody's had with finding cars, but less so. And yeah, we have a very strong pipeline of customers, which has been great for our growth.
The future of mobility is not just going to be on 4 wheels, but also 2. Smaller items, like this e-scooter for example, will become a very good example of personal mobility and could help cities decongest, which will also aid air pollution levels. And a great fun to ride as well.
I think being able to see where all the charge points are for people who've just got an EV is really important. First of all, you need to be able to find the chargers in your local area. Then you need to find the chargers on your sort of typical journeys and be able to plan your journey. So I think for new EV drivers, it's really important. At the moment, there's 30,000 electric car charge points around the UK across around 20,000 locations. And that's grown 40% since the end of last year. So it's growing at really quite a pace. We managed to keep on top of that because we have a direct connection with the charge point networks themselves. So we have live connection, which means we update the charge points every 5 minutes. So we can tell whether a charge point is available, out of service or in use. And it also means as soon as a charge point operator commissions a charge point, we get that in a data feed, check it over and add it to zap-map. One element of it is just to give those people who are thinking about getting an electric car confidence to make that switch so they can have a look and make sure that there's enough charging infrastructure. And of course, as we get more and more electric cars on the road, we need to have more and more public chargers to be able to fulfill their needs. So continued growth, it's happening both in the high ultra rapid chargers and also chargers to support those people who don't have off-street parking. At the moment, there is a bit of charger anxiety. People are a bit concerned. They arrive at a charge point and they're not sure is it going to be working or not. But that's, if you look on zap-map, you get user updates. How long do I think it's going to be before that goes away? Well, I think we're definitely moving towards the mass market now. More and more chargers are coming. But I think until there's at least 6, if not 12, rapid chargers in every motorway service area, I think that there will still be a certain amount of charger anxiety.
Well, Connected Kerb is a EV charging and smart cities business. We started the business about 4 years ago, principally aimed at trying to democratise EV charging, to bring EV charging and make it accessible for all of those people in the UK who don't have access to home charging. There's a real risk at the moment that you're going to see a two-tier adoption of EV, with the haves who have driveways being able to adopt EV very quickly. People get fixated on the cost of an electric vehicle, but in actual fact many lease, so the cost is less important. Actually, it's very important to try and get the infrastructure out there. So all those people who have a driveway are able to access that charging infrastructure, and we're basically trying to provide that same service for those who can't park on their driveway. And it's important to note that in the UK, that's about 62% of the population who does not have the ability to charge on a driveway. We try and deploy at scale in areas where people need to charge and where they want to leave their vehicles for long periods of time. From an affordability perspective, we're trying to bring digital technologies in to try and optimize the way that people charge to reduce the cost of it. So with the project we did last year through BEIS, so the government department BEIS, alongside with Samsung and Octopus, we've managed to demonstrate that you can bring agile charging tariffs to public charging networks. And we can save the user up to 40% on the cost of charging if they'll allow us to optimize their charging. And then finally, from a reliability perspective, we recognise that most of the networks out there are not reliable enough at the moment, and so we're trying to improve that all the time. And we deliver that by essentially removing the key failure points from charging points. And the key failure points are sockets and cables. So we've separated our socket above the ground from the charger beneath the ground. That massively improves reliability, and it means when something does break, we can repair it really quickly. And then finally on that, it also delivers the other parallel benefit that you can have something that is much, much more visually discrete. So the Chameleon charging point, which is the new one that we're bringing out today, is incredibly visually discrete. It looks like a street bollard, but actually it's a 7 or 22 kilowatt charging point that you will walk past and almost miss that it's there on the street.
So at the Octopus Energy Juice recharge zone, it's time to end its coverage. It's been a really interesting day at Fully Charged Live. It's been great to see so many people getting so interested in electric vehicles, not just the cars themselves, but the recharging infrastructure. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the Automotive24 YouTube channel. You can also check out our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon Music. And don't forget to subscribe to our daily email at automotive24.com. Thanks for watching.